Most countries have seen a fall in fertility. One of the problems that you have, and particularly you'll see this in sub-Saharan Africa, is there's a very, very large number of young people. The median age in sub-Saharan Africa is only 18 to 19. Now, in sub-Saharan Africa, many people are already, women or girls are already childbearing at that age. So what you're seeing is smaller families, but actually a larger number of families, and that is going to be driving our population growth over the rest of the century. We can affect that by obviously encouraging people to have smaller families, but that's why we're seeing that big rise at the moment.
With massive social problems, economic problems, environmental problems, is there, I don't want to be a doom-monger, but is there an actual figure where the population of the world will outstrip the world's ability to support us?
Yes, and that figure is less than the 7.7 billion that we're at the moment. And the obvious thing here is that it depends how people live. When you look at, for instance, Africa, which is driving population growth at the moment, Africa's contribution to global warming as a continent is absolutely negligible, whereas you look at the developed world, the rich world, and our contribution is very high. So we shouldn't just think of overpopulation in terms of where there is explosive population growth. But what we're seeing now is a situation in which we are in an environmental crisis. Global warming, obviously everyone's aware of, but biodiversity too. And those factors, those are driven by population growth, as well as consumption, as well as the way we behave. We have to reduce our own consumption, but one way of doing that is to reduce the number of consumers.
But
and we can do that.
We've been saying this for 30 years. I mean, I remember when, the population hit 5 billion.
Yeah.
It's now on course to reach, what, more than 11 billion by the year 2100. So is there not the commitment from governments to follow through on promises to try and increase access to family planning or to reduce birth rates?
I mean, population growth is overwhelmingly being driven in the poorest countries, where they face great challenges, and it's not simply about family planning. So, as you know, it's about the way people live. So, providing education, lifting people out of poverty, in particular, empowering women and girls. You need to do all these things as well. If people feel that they need to have lots of children because it's the only way they feel secure, then they're not going to use that contraception, that family planning. So, it's about lifting people up. But as we do that, we've also got to be conscious that as we lift people out of poverty, of course, their environmental impact will increase as they become more affluent. So we're seeing an increase in our consumption overall as a species, an increase in our impact, driven partly by population growth.
And does population growth affect poorer countries disproportionately?
Population growth certainly does, but I think we need to be conscious of the fact that whereas, for instance, in the United Kingdom, our fertility rate, as it's called, is less than what they call the replacement rate, so it's less than 2 people per couple.
And we're living longer as well, though.
And we're living longer as well. More children in the developing world, in the global south, are making it out of childhood than were before. So these are all good news stories in many ways. But again, we have to recognise that when, for instance, someone in the UK is producing 60 times the number of carbon emissions as someone in Niger, which has the highest fertility rate, the highest family size in the world, actually reducing our family size, actually thinking about the number of consumers we have here is just as important. But of course, that population growth that we're seeing in places like Nigeria at the moment, we hope those people aren't going to stay poor for the rest of their lives. But we know that that's going to lead to more impact. So we need to address it everywhere.